Hello and welcome to Politics here on France 24. The suspense, if there ever was one, is now officially over. Nicolas Sarkozy wants to be president again. He officially told the French he wants it on Wednesday night on French television. Can he pull it off despite record low polls? Well, he certainly thinks so. We'll ask our two guests if they share his optimism. So with me today on the set, Jacques Millard, who's a member of parliament from the ruling UMP Conservative Party. Hello and welcome.
Good morning.
And also on the set, Jérôme Guedj, who is a member of the Socialist Party. He's a member of the National Bureau, and he's at the head of the Essonne region near Paris. Hello and welcome to you too. So Wednesday night was the big night for Nicolas Sarkozy. After a month of waiting, he finally said that he would throw his hat into the ring.
Officially a candidate, the incumbent French president announced he will run again.
Yes, I'm a candidate in the presidential election. Considering the situation in France, in Europe and other parts of the world, with this unprecedented crisis, or actually a series of unprecedented crises, if I did not ask the French to renew this contract between us, it'd be like abandoning them.
Meanwhile, his main rival and leader in the polls, François Hollande, said he was not surprised.
But I'm going to tell you a secret. I knew this was going to happen.
His spokesman said he was not impressed with Sarkozy's bid.
Now the battle can begin. Nicolas Sarkozy has chosen his slogan, A Strong France. It shows how deceptive this campaign is. When you realize that Sarkozy made France dramatically weaker, with record high unemployment, bottomless deficit, and a tremendous level of debt.
An argument echoed by another strong contender in this election, the far-right candidate Marine Le Pen.
I found him quite insincere and probably not convinced himself that he'll be able to make the French people forget his many failures while he's been in office.
With more than 2 months to go before the elections, the clock is ticking for Sarkozy. He has scheduled a series of rallies across the country, starting Thursday.
Jacques Millard, the president in his interview yesterday said he was somewhat relieved to be finally in the campaign. Do you share this assessment? Are you happy that he finally decided he had planned to declare himself later?
For once, I will agree with François Hollande. I wasn't surprised at all, you know. So there is no matter about that. Relief is not, I think that when you say relief in English, I think it's too strong. You know, this is a start. Now we are right into the campaign. And I think, of course, that he was, you know, when I met him a few weeks ago, he said to me that he will announce his candidacy at the end of February. It came a bit earlier. I mean, it was necessary. Why? Because I think that, of course, the pressure was very high to start from our opponents, but also from the media, and also because, you know, it was a wrong secret. So I think that now it started. He's decided to go down into the ring, and I think now things will really start, you know, on a genuine basis. Because as a president, I just would like to add something. You know, it's difficult to be a full candidate, no candidate, of course. You know, so I think that now he's going out of the shadow and right into a genuine campaign, and I think it's good.
Are you happy, Jérôme Guedj, that Nicolas Sarkozy is finally candidate, or you don't care?
I don't care. I mean, it wasn't a surprise, obviously. We used to have, for the last 5 years, a president candidate. Now we have a candidate president. So let's go. The good aspect, the good point, is that it's not going to be possible for him anymore to misuse public fundings by doing his political campaign with public funding, as he did for the last months. Now he's under the rule of the public funds and the political campaign. And so it's much better for everybody, for the democracy.
Do you think that the fact that, as Jacques Millard alleged, that Nicolas Sarkozy had planned to declare himself later but was forced in a way to do this earlier, is a good sign. It shows that there is maybe fear in the Sarkozy camp that he is really in a bad position.
We could say that. I think he has always underestimated François Hollande as a credible candidate. And he has realized that since the beginning of the campaign of François Hollande, and especially since his very good meeting on Le Bourget at the end of January, something has happened in the country, and it was impossible for him just to wait this way. So I think I agree with Mr. Mia. Now we are going to have the clear debate, project against project. But talking about last night, I found him on the defensive. He's betting on the general amnesia of the French people. He's betting on the fact that he could appear as the freshman during this campaign. But French people know that he has been president for the last 5 years, and his balance sheet is not good at all. And it's going to be very difficult for him to present himself as the freshman during this campaign.
Let me point two things. First of all, what about his interview yesterday? You say he was on the defensive. If he was being attacking, he would have said he's arrogant. So you say, in fact, he's not defensive. He's just behaving like a man who is in responsibility, and there is no need to be aggressive or to be on the defensive. It just appears as it is. That means I'm ready now to fight. Secondly, when you say that he was misusing the public funds, let me remind you, because you have a very short memory, that when you have been campaigning for the primaries, you have been using a lot of public funds because you have been appearing, either Mr. Hollande, Madame Aubry, and so on, in the public channels and private channel a lot. And so you don't say that you don't accuse the president to misuse, because he's in the chair, he's the president, and it is his duty and right to behave as a president. Secondly, and thirdly, I'm sorry, because that was 2 points. Thirdly, you said, well, he has he's got a bad sheet during the 5 years. I'm sorry to say there are a lot of reforms which have been, driven through, which are now in force. And on those reforms, you are not going to touch a word of it, either on the pension, either on the minimum public service when there is a strike. That's the main point. You are not going to change. If by chance you come to power, you are not going to really change that, and you will have to put that in the application as this government does. So be careful, be careful. Times are rather tough today, They are rather tough. There is a genuine crisis, and don't be very careful, because if you come to power, the French will decide that, then you will have the so-called hot potato in the hands. And so the crisis is deep. Don't, undervalue this crisis. And I think it's very risky. Or there is another, maybe possibility that you do believe that you are not going to win, and that this government will further on try to solve the problems.
Mr. Meyer, we don't undervalue the crisis.
Thank you.
The French people don't undervalue the crisis, and they know.
I know.
And
this
they
is
know.
Why they are not going to trust
And they know.
you.
Please let me finish. And they know precisely who is responsible, not of the crisis, but of the responses that have been chosen faced to the crisis.
Which
and
one? Let me be precise. Be precise.
I can be precise. You don't manage to be precise, because when I ask you on the balance sheet of Nicolas Sarkozy, what is the balance sheet? You're talking about the public minimum public service and the pension.
Not only that. Also, the reform of the state, and there are many, many other issues which have been solved, and you are not going to come back on that, I tell you frankly.
We've got 60 proposals that are the change. The change is now for François Hollande and for the French people, because during the last 5 years, not only the crisis and the choice that have been made by Nicolas Sarkozy, but all the French people has realized that there is no vision for the country. There is no solution to gather other people. I don't think that by opening French among them, Last night, President Sarkozy has invented something very incredible. He says, okay, I'm going to be elected, and I'm going to make 1, 2, 3, 4 referendum.
Are you against the people?
To ask
you want to change the people?
No,
are
no,
you
no, no. I'm not against the people.
Referendum?
I'm not against referendum. The big referendum will be on the 6th of May.
It will be the first one. Yes, I agree with you.
He will have to propose.
The 6th of May being the second round of the
yes,
presidential.
and that will be the big referendum with two very simple questions. Do you want to go on with Nicolas Sarkozy?
Or do you want to go for the Neymar?
Oh, not the Neymar. Don't be so ridiculous. I mean, the French people, you know, for the last 5 years, have suffered from the decisions that have been taken. You know, for instance, you said that he had the courage to make some big reforms. Do you think that the tax reform by Nicolas Sarkozy can be considered as fair for the French people? Do you think that by creating and increasing the VAT, it's fair for the French people?
Okay, let's talk
about
about
that. Do you think that this kind of choice that have benefit mainly for the richest people in France?
Okay, let me answer you. On the question of VAT, about a year ago, your leaders in the National Assembly has proposed, you know, at the beginning of the crisis to increase VAT. You said without lowering, you know, on the cost of labor, the taxes. So you know, you have a very short
memory. Nobody has ever proposed in the French Socialist Party to increase the VAT.
Mr. Ayrault in the National Assembly pointed the fact that in Great Britain they were increasing the VAT, and he said you should do the same thing. I do remember that.
Things must be clear. If we are elected, we will.
You are not going to change a penny on this question of VAT, because this is the only one. Otherwise, there is another alternative, that you go out of the Eurozone. Because if you can't devalue, if France can't get more competitiveness, then you have to really either decrease the cost of labor or devaluation. That means getting out of the euro. There is no alternative. No alternative.
You speak like Margaret Thatcher. There is no alternative.
There is
it's
no
always
alternative
the same with the liberal.
For
you, it's always the same.
On this question of that, you forget one thing, that it will be able to finance our social system. Are you ready to say to the French that if there is not this reform, you are going to be de-reimbursed? You know, you are not going to have the same alliance in the question of social welfare. Is it what you want? Because we have to finance our social system.
Yes, and we've got some solutions. For instance, on the last 5 years, there is more than 50 billion euros of tax gifts that have been made for
There is no gift. We have been the only one to increase the highest income, you know, up to 45%. Yesterday in the National Assembly,
you know what?
From their allies, there was a proposal to increase the income taxes up to 95%. Do you realize that? Up to 95. So you are ready to increase, in fact, the income taxes very high. Then you will have the capital fleeing from France. Never forget that you are in a common.
You're talking about I don't know the fact that the French will be on failure with the arrival of François Hollande.
You have to take into account that we are living in a Eurozone. We are living in the freedom of capitals moving from one place to the others, and that you have to take it into account. We are the one.
Always the same. I'm sure that 30 years ago you were one of the ones that used to say that with François Mitterrand we could have the Russian tanks on the Champs-Élysées.
Oh, no, not at
it's
all.
Always the same with you. With the left on responsibility, it's a big danger. You know,
the big mistake of Mr. Mitterrand was nationalizing, because he's been nationalizing our enterprise that at the cost, and the 60 years pension time, and the 35 hours later on with Madame Aubry. That's the mistake that we are paying today. That's the mistake that we are paying today. How do you
explain then that Nicolas Sarkozy is so low in the polls? And
because,
do you think
because he has failed? It's obvious.
But can he catch this up?
I'm sure it's impossible for him, because he's going to present himself as the freshman. He managed to do that in 2007. You know, for instance, on security matters. You know, for the last 10 years, he has been in charge of security. And what are the results? The increase of 20% of violence against people. You know, do you think
dare
that people
to speak of security?
Yes,
as a socialist?
Yes, for sure we
You
can
sh-
speak
you
of
dare
security
to speak of that?
because we are in charge of security
Why
in
they're
all
not-
local authorities.
Okay, let me answer
they're
you
not
that
legitimate on crime.
security insecurity has been decreasing in France for the past
just
10
just
years.
ask people in
but
your
when
buoyancy.
you have reached such a level, you know, with the last
Oh,
socialist
no, 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 no.
government,
It's our
then
fault.
no, I'm sorry. The data given in insecurity are given by free authorities headed by Mr. Bauer, and it's
Do
very
you meet
clear.
from
And it's
time to
very
time
clear.
people living
It's
in your
very
buoyancy?
clear that insecurity has been decreasing, and when Mr. Holland is, saying that of course he doesn't want the governmental laws that we have passed on the question of what we call peine plancher, that means very strict sanction, not to be really in question by the judge itself, as the judge has to sanction on this way. And when you say that you are going to reform that, and you are talking of security,
Yes,
you are
we're
the
talking
last
of
one
security.
to be able to talk of security. And you say he failed in the past years, but you seems to forget that in all European countries, even where the socialists were at the rudder, they really also failed because the crisis has overthrown all the Western world, and this is the point. So don't undervalue, because I'm sorry to say, I say it again, don't undervalue the crisis. This is something which is very tough, and we have to face
Last
you
answer.
as we.
It's because of this crisis and its consequences on French people. Not on, I don't know what are the people you meet on security, on social matters, but the real French people. Just explain me why Mr. Sarkozy is so weak in the polls. If he had managed to overcome all the difficulties, people know that he has
don't say
failed.
that.
And I trust the French lucidity just to make the good choice on the 22nd of April.
You are right to trust the French lucidity. That's why I think that it is a good chance to win. Thank you.
Okay, the campaign has started, as you probably just saw. Thank you very much to both of our guests, and thank you for watching this edition of Politics here on France 24. We'll see you next week for probably more campaign stuff.